What is going on, guys? Rob from Heroes Avenue, and if you're watching this, it is probably Christmas, and Merry Christmas to everybody who celebrates Christmas. Happy holidays. I should have done this video last week when The Last Jedi came out, but I got sick. I had to do Christmas shopping, and you know how all that goes during the holiday season. It got really busy. So I'm really glad that I didn't do it, though, because we're starting to see all this craziness going along with fan backlash to the movie, and we're seeing stories come out about the movie and what Mark Hamill really thought. So, and it gave me some time to marinate and watch the movie one more time to really see if I felt the way I actually felt. And right off the bat, guys, I loved The Last Jedi. Definitely parts of it, there were definitely parts and story arcs that I totally hated and didn't like. And what I want to do in this video is quickly go over the big points. There are a lot of things that I loved. And if I'm missing any little details, it's not because I'm forgetting it, it's because I don't want to make this video longer than it should be. I want to really get to the heart of what I loved. So I'm going to talk about things that I thought were cringeworthy on this side, and then things that I thought were brilliant on this side. And as you can tell, I really think there are a lot more brilliant aspects to this movie than there are cringeworthy parts. So let's get into it. The first cringeworthy thing I really couldn't forgive in this movie was the way Luke handled the lightsaber moment when Rey hands him the lightsaber and he just tosses it over his shoulder nonchalantly. J.J. Abrams set up this moment to be potentially one of the greatest, most iconic scenes in Star Wars when Luke takes this lightsaber, and what was Luke going to say? We all speculated for 2 years about what Luke was going to say once he took that lightsaber from Rey's hand, and I see why JJ had him toss it over the shoulder. It kind of set it up for what Luke was going to, what his path was going to be in this movie, but I just thought it could have been done in a different way. If he just dropped it or handed it back to her, it could have had the same effect than him just tossing it, and it just felt like a gut punch almost, because we're all so attached to this lightsaber that has seen its way through the prequels, original trilogy, and now here. I just thought it could have been, it was just a missed opportunity for something a little bit greater, in my opinion. Was able to forgive it in the second viewing, and it didn't mind so much, but when I first saw it, it was kind of jarring to me. Second thing I thought was cringeworthy was the Princess Leia, Mary Poppins moment. Man, I thought, you know, R.I.P. Carrie Fisher, I thought she was going to go out in this movie, and I'm not disappointed in what happened and transpired in this movie, but what I am disappointed in is just how it looked. I thought it was set up beautifully for the trick that they set up in the trailer, where Kylo looks like he was about to kill Leia, and then he doesn't. And then when we see the movie, they actually come in, and you know, his wingman actually come in and do the job for him, killing Akbar and what we thought was Leia. And that scene literally felt like a gut punch in the stomach, and literally had us and the theater on the edge of their seat and gasping. Is this the way they're going to end Leia? I would have been okay with it because of the emotional reaction that it brought out for me. But then when we did see her in space and they showed her theme, it was really beautiful. And then you start to see her floating in space and using the Force, which was cool. I just thought it could have been done differently instead of her doing that stupid looking Mary Poppins pose. I'm okay with it. I thought it could have been done better, and I kind of cringed when I did see it. Third thing is everything BB-8 did in this movie. So a lot of the criticisms of this movie is that the jokes fell flat. And the jokes, a lot of the times jokes did fall flat. And for me, most of it had to do with, you know, the funny moments BB-8 was supposed to have. Especially when they're doing the escape scene and BB-8 starts shooting money out at the guards, and it knocks out the guards. It's just so ridiculous, you know. It felt like prequels, R2-D2 flying and using the electricity to stun all these droids. I know it's Star Wars, it's part of it's part of a Star Wars trope that typically occurs. I just didn't like it. It didn't land with me. I moved past it pretty quick, but I just didn't like it. And the last thing here, and this is kind of a broad one, is Finn's whole story arc I did not like. I thought there were great moments in it. I just didn't like this arc in general. The whole arc felt like it didn't need to be as long as it did, because I get it. Not everything in Star Wars, at least what Rian Johnson is setting up, not everything in Star Wars is going to be a successful, plan that works out for our heroes. That's what I thought the arc served to do, to show that not every plan is going to work out for them. I thought it could have been a little shorter. I did like the moments with the lessons that DJ taught, talking about that there's a gray area, because these bad guys here on this planet, they're helping the good guys and the bad guys, and it's opening up Finn's eyes and kind of made him really become fully immersed in the Resistance, seeing this guy who hasn't picked a side yet. The whole Captain Phasma thing, you're like, what did they do with Phasma, man? She could have been a potentially really cool character, and they just killed her off, and it was that whole everything just felt like it was for naught. So yes. Oh, and I have to say, the whole scene with Rose and Finn at the end of the movie, where Rose saves Finn. I get it. I knew it was coming. The whole romance thing. It felt kind of rushed and forced, but the whole thing where she kisses him and says, "This is how we're going to save the galaxy, by saving the ones we love, not killing the people we hate," something like that. But it almost felt like the Batman scene in the Dark Knight, the Dark Knight Returns or Rises, the Dark Knight Rises, where name escapes me, Talia al Ghul. Her last words to Batman, she says that something like she won, and then she goes and just drops dead. That's how it felt like Rose was to me. It just felt so wrong. It didn't feel right. So cringeworthy. I think a lot of people in the theaters cringed when they saw Rose kiss Finn and then kind of pass out. And the dialogue, it was just so corny. I had to close my eyes the second time I watched the movie, to be honest, because I didn't want to see it, and I saw people cringing next to me. It was kind of funny. But yes, I wish they had done without that scene, or done it in somewhat of a different way. That's the things I didn't like. Let's get to the things that I did like. Okay, so there are a lot of really great moments in this movie, and I could go on forever about the things that I loved. And again, I know there are a lot of arguments. I'm probably going to do some separate videos, combating a lot of these arguments and a lot of the smaller details of this movie. But things I didn't like. I loved how they started this movie. They opened up with a scene that set up the idea of sacrifice and what these people are sacrificing in order to be a part of this resistance. And it set the tone of the movie right away, that we got Rose's sister sacrificing herself for a plan that was not very well executed and thought out by Poe. I loved Poe's arc in this movie. Poe's arc was really great. Seeing this big-headed guy kind of get pushed to his limits, and then he has to learn some real valuable lessons through Leia, and I loved Leia's role as a mentor in this movie. I thought that was really great. Another great part of this storyline was Captain Holdo, I believe's name. Captain Holdo's whole story arc. You think that she's somehow a person who doesn't have the First Order's, or I'm sorry, the Resistance best interests in mind when she's not telling people the plan, and you come to figure out that she's actually making the ultimate sacrifice to save what's left of the Resistance, and what they're starting to refer to as rebels once again in this movie, which was great. And then that scene where she commits the ultimate sacrifice and goes into light speed right through Snoke's ship. Wow, you could hear pins drop in the theater. That the image of her going to hyperspace and flying right through the ship, that was incredible. Something we've never seen again in Star Wars before. I thought it was amazing. I loved all the new things that have come out of this movie. Almost all of the new things I loved. Also, I loved Rey's and Kylo's dialogue. It's just showing us how bigger the Force is than we actually thought. It was really incredible. It really set up the arc, which you thought was going to be Kylo turning back to the light side, but it actually was not what you thought it was going to be. Just like Luke said in the trailer, this is not going to end how you think. I thought that was great. And the whole thing with Snoke, I loved how they played Snoke. To be honest, not every Star Wars question in the original trilogy, not every Star Wars character was fleshed out and given a backstory. We had to use our imagination to kind of figure out where this person came from. The mystery is what made everything so great. Emperor Palpatine, we didn't get a whole backstory on what the Emperor was when we saw the original trilogy. We didn't get a whole backstory on Boba Fett, but they were badass characters that a lot of people loved. And then when Snoke goes out the way he does in this movie, getting tricked by Kylo, I thought that was really incredible. Something that no one saw coming. I thought this was definitely Star Wars. It was the master it was his hubris thinking that he had full control of the situation when he didn't. He did not have full control, and it was a great twist. And I loved how they handled Snoke, really. And I don't know. I don't think necessarily we're done with him. I think his presence may be felt, or he might actually be in the next movie. But man, I thought that whole scene, Snoke was, they set him up to be so menacing, and we don't get all the backstory, which leaves a little bit more room for the imagination, or at least the books. So I think the criticisms about this scene are kind of unfounded. Like, just think about what Star Wars does. Use your imagination and look back at the original trilogies and what they did. They didn't tell us the whole backstories of all these characters. We had to use our imagination when we were younger, and I thought this was a great way. And Rian Johnson did it great in this scene as well. And the fight scene to follow, man, was that incredible! I'm not even gonna talk about that. I'm just gonna nerdgasm all over this video. If I do, I'll talk about it forever. Okay, Master Yoda. Man, the lesson Master Yoda teaches in this movie is just as iconic as his lesson in Empire Strikes Back. And even some of the words he says, Empire, he goes, do or do not. There is no try. That sentence or that lesson that he taught in that movie has reverberated throughout these generations and still is one of the greatest lessons Master Yoda has ever taught. And in this movie, he does another iconic. He does one last iconic thing with Luke. I forget the exact phrase that Master Yoda teaches Luke, but it's essentially that, the students are, we are what the students grow past. So, if you guys remember the quote from the movie, can you comment it down below? I love that quote from the movie. And I love the new Force abilities that we are seeing from these Force ghosts because, Obi-Wan famously said that if he gets struck down, he'll become more powerful than you could ever imagine. But we never saw what kind of powers the Force ghost could actually have until Yoda in this movie, where he destroyed the Force tree with just one flick of his finger. That was incredible. And the last thing I want to talk about in this video, to make it quick, is the legend of Luke Skywalker. A lot of people hated the arc that Luke was on in this movie, and I get it. He's not the Luke that you remember from the original trilogy, but that's what's so great about it. People grow, a lot of things happen, a lot of people think that, they had preconceived notions of what should have happened, and that's what's the problem. You're not taking the movie for what it is. Imagine Luke Skywalker went on this path, a downward spiral, after what transpired between him and Kylo. Imagine that he became this hermit. Take it for what it is, and then listen, and then look at how Luke handled the situation. He became. He talked to Rey, and Rey talked to him about needing a legend. And in this movie, he handles this whole situation in the most Jedi way possible. He doesn't jump in with his lightsaber and just start killing people. He sat back and used the Force in the smartest way possible. He became the legend of Luke Skywalker. Rey said she needed a legend, and he became that legend by facing down all those new improved AT-ATs and Kylo Ren. And man, that scene was so amazing. I want the poster of him facing down all those AT-ATs. It was just really incredible, in my opinion. A lot of people are picking out minor details about what was bad about the scene, about him brushing off his shoulders. But man, I think people are really getting way too nitpicky with this. I thought it was amazing how Rian Johnson set this up since the beginning of the movie. When Kylo first sees Rey through their minds being bridged, he goes, "You're not doing this. The effort would kill you." And then you see, that was the first clue. The second clue is when you see Luke ignite his blue lightsaber. You go, wait, that lightsaber just got destroyed in the fight scene. What is going on? Luke looks younger. That's another thing. When Luke steps on the sand, that's another clue of what Rian Johnson was trying to tell you, in that things are not what they seem to be. And it was a great way to use this new Force power that we've only seen in the TV shows so far. Luke being so powerful that he can project himself from across the galaxy and save, in one side, save the Resistance, and on another side, become the legend of Luke Skywalker, the legend that kind of reverberates throughout the whole galaxy. And you see at the end of the movie, the kids are talking about Luke Skywalker. Ultimately, while this movie was talking about letting the past die, he's once again reigniting that sense of hope by becoming the legend of Luke Skywalker, inspiring the next generation, the next generations of resistance fighters, rebel fighters to come up and fight against the First Order. And I thought it was done so amazing, and Luke's ending was just so beautiful, seeing the twin sons. It's really jarring. This is the type of movie where you have to process it after the movie. Maybe it takes a second viewing to really appreciate it, and you know, it takes more than deviating from what you know Star Wars to be for someone to destroy Star Wars. This movie in no way destroyed what Star Wars is. It expanded what Star Wars is, at least in my opinion. So I made this video really quick because I had to get my thoughts out there somehow. To be honest, this is my second time filming this, because the first time I filmed it, it was over 30 minutes long, and there's no way I could use any of that because, you know, I want to make the video short and concise. I am going to make more videos on this with talking about a little bit more details and addressing a little bit more of the criticisms. But please let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. Did you agree with me, or did you not really agree with me? Let me know what you would have put, what else you would have put on both of these lists right here. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe. Please like this video. It really would help the channel and keep me going, you know, posting videos on here. And I hope you guys have a safe and happy holidays. And this is Rob from Heroes Avenue signing out. Peace.